live, Chris. This is
What's up, family?
What's up, family? There is a new version of this is supposed to be for the experts in the loop, but also on our own
Trying something
personal
a bit
devices. Trying something a bit different. Actually going live here for a change, because usually we film at the studio. And for folks that don't know, experts in the loop, this is our experts in the loop podcast, as you can see here. And various videos. We had Armina on there. I don't know what we're doing in that caption. We've had various folks on, builders of awesome things there. I can see that it is live on the YouTube as well. So that's cool.
Can we watch ourselves in real time as we're talking?
Yeah, we can. Hang on. If I do this, I don't know what I've done there. Hang on a second. There we go. So you can see it there.
That's cool.
It's on show. Anyway, Chris, how you been? What you been up to? What's going on? What's keeping you busy?
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. I think most notably is I've been in kind of pitch mode with a few interesting pieces of work. It comes back to actually talking about a lot of the stuff that the show does, which is that expert in the loop kind of experience and AI within our life and our work. So been looking at how organizations adopt the mindset of AI and trying to make it clear and have them understand that AI isn't the thing that solves all the problems. Sometimes businesses aren't ready, the maturity isn't there. There needs to be sometimes a lot of data restructuring. There needs to be maybe a bit of a cultural shift, and it's trying to really make them understand that make sure your business is in the right place before you start going, oh, AI is going to solve our problems. AI, let's see if we could just implement ChatGPT, or let's just do this and do that with AI. It's like it shouldn't be something you just throw into the mix. It should be properly considered, particularly for SMEs and up. So that's kind of been a lot of the work I've been looking at over the last week or so. It's been very, very interesting.
Sorry, I missed all of that. Can you repeat it? I'm just joking. No, that is cool, because I'm just telling some folks that we're on now, but because we didn't do an announcement of this.
We wanted to test it
off the cuff. Yeah, it's testing.
Fine.
We're using Restream just for openness and transparency. Like we are using Restream for this. I do a lot of work with Red Belly Network, hosting their podcast, and we've done some stuff live, as you remember, Chris. And this is a cool tool. But yeah, going back to your talk, like I think you and I, we're doing some projects, some serious kind of projects, especially around I heard a really good note on this from the Oz Blockchain and AI Network meetup, and we're going to go back and talk about some of the things there. But someone noted that they're seeing serious things when it comes to, it's like the sugar hit has worn off, of AI. It's like, okay, yes, cool, try this, do this, break this. Okay, it's good, it's working, it's not working, it's mostly not working. And then other people are like, what are you talking about? Of course it's working. Look at all the things that I can build and how fast and blah, blah, blah. But the sugar hit of the hype has worn off. And now that it's started to get serious, it's like, just like many other systems that you have in place, you have different departments, you have different rules, you have different systems in how you do things, how you onboard vendors, how you do all of that, and how you govern and manage. AI governance is becoming a serious sort of thing, and businesses are doing that because they want to embrace AI. They want to use it, and this is a great maturity that I think is taking place, and it sounds like you're getting that in your conversations.
Very much so. I mean, it's and for good reason that these things are starting to come up in conversations more and more. It's the where is your data going? Like, what are these tools allowed access to? What is the, what tools are we allowed to use within the organization? Like, previously, there's been huge amounts of focus on cybersecurity and just tool use within organizations before AI was even a thing. Like, that's always been an important conversation to have. You see almost weekly there's some large corporate or smaller who's getting data leaks or hacked for whatever reason, whether it's someone clicking on something in an email or someone being breached for having a lax security system. So that kind of conversation has been serious for so long, and then up comes AI, and suddenly these people are utilizing these tools that have never been considered in these governance frameworks previously, and they've sort of started to seep through the cracks of these organizations. And it's only been, I think, I would say over probably the last like sort of 3-6 months that people have gone, actually, shit, we need to start taking this a bit more seriously around what people could do and what they can't do. You know, we may have thrown ChatGPT quickly into the mix, but we haven't really considered where the data is going, or what type of questions people are utilizing, or how are they reviewing the content to minimize things like hallucinations and like trusting of sources, etc. Like it's and it is something that needs to be taken seriously, particularly for mature organizations or organizations who are built on with trust factors, right?
Yeah, two things on that. The you know, various things on that AI governance umbrella, and you could talk about the legals, you could talk about the ethics side of things, you could talk about the operational side of things, and that's where we've kind of been playing in our own organizations. But also, just before we get into that, for the whole time, and I say since like 2022 that it's this version of AI, like AI in brackets, because AI has been around for a while, machine learning, natural language processing, all that kind of stuff. But this new GPT version of AI that everyone seems to think is like just AI. Two things: where does the data sit, and where does the AI do its inference, its thinking, its calls? And when you have both of those, and you are in an industry that doesn't care because you're not bound by Australian privacy practices or whatever it is, like here in Australia, especially in Australia, maybe you can just use any of the public models. That's fine. But we've been saying for the longest time, if you're trying to do stuff in regulated industries where it's going to be more important, you have to have those two things tackled there. So, that is interesting, but it's also like, not just that, you might set up, for example, SSO, so that people can only access GPT for business or Teams or whatever it is through being approved by IT. And that's the only way they can access the work accounts, and the work accounts are where they're sharing and chatting with other team members. But then you don't get the, unless you're on premium plans, and people don't realize this, is unless you're on premium plans, you're not going to get all of the analytics that Anthropic and OpenAI provide. And if you don't have that, how do you know what people are throwing in? But you've been experimenting with an interesting concept just in your own kind of personal work and also for business, where there are ways that it could be set up, Claude, for example, where things are logged and tracked. Like, I mean, can you tell us about that? That was interesting, because I didn't realize that, hey, hang on, there are workarounds that could be put in place.
Very so. So, like, I mean, everything that your AI tool is doing it's like an action. It's a data point, right? So you can, let's say that on the basic level, as if you're doing your own thing on the basic level, you could be saying, as soon as you enter a chat, every action, everything I ask, can you make sure you track it, and let's say just put it into a tracked file, a tracked document. So that the moment you ask it a comment, the moment it responds, all of that input and all of that output, high level, gets tracked into this little, this little analytics document, this MD file, potentially for that project file. So right there, within that moment, you have a full log of everything that you're doing. Now, the beauty of particularly things like Claude is that you can also set those informations on a global scale. So whether you're impacting your Claude MD, or even from a business point of view, you can have certain rules for it to always follow when it's doing things. And you can ask it to pull that information out into a sort of global tracking document, whether it's creating a new chat, whether it's creating a new project. So all that information is constantly being read or pushed into that file every time you do something. And then all you need to do is create some sort of visual UI on the front of it to be able to pull that information up. So let's say something goes wrong, or someone does something, there is a log that was actioned. It's not like, you got 50 people and, dev team people who are making changes to some kind of technical platform. It's like, oh man, who did the change and what happened? Now if you've set up your systems in a way that has put that tracking in place, you can go to that time log. Oh, look, it was that particular project, that particular chat instance, that particular person. Boom. I now know what happened and where it went wrong.
Just on that note, like I was, it's been the Digital Economy Conference week this week. Some great kind of things happening there. I'll see if I can bring something up on, showcasing that. But there was a thing I was on, which was the Great Debate, and that Great Debate was all about can we trust AI with our money? And now this kind of stuff relates because the idea that AI has a way that it can tell you everything that it's done and the reasons why. Now, sure, there are things on reasoning that you do need to take into account, but the thing about that is that at least unlike humans, and this is like an argument, should be humans or should it be like AI? It's that with humans, it's harder to go, well, Chris, why did you make that decision there and then? You have to recall it. But with the AI, it can just log it at the point in time. So, the great thing was that we did win that debate, as you can see here. The affirmative Team Robot, as some people put it, did win the debate. So we'll take that. But, going back to it, there's a whole heap of Team Robot. There's a whole heap of stuff in AI governance. And sorry, as long as you have, on this note, as long as you have governance, you are able to have AI that you can trust, whether it is for managing money, or you're using it in a law firm, or you're using it to make like really important decisions in coding, or just using AI in general, like business practice that you are able to go back to. There's arguments for recording these things onto blockchain, or just to a secure database. But going back to it, like the slides that we had, this is some of the slides that we had for the Oz Blockchain and AI Network that we run, the meetup each month. This was in Sydney over at Stone and Chalk. We had the AI governance side of things. And here are some of the elements that we talk about when it comes to what's important in AI governance from an operational point of view, what folks need to think about. And we talked about this on stage, but just to give a quick recap to folks, and there's another slide after this, but what were some of the like key takeaways for you from doing that? Like, what do you think, was important for people to know about like AI governance?
I think it's, given the type of audience, there's like a real nice mix of audience, people in the audience there. Some of the people who are in these either high churn, high revenue, 50 plus employees, I think they are starting to get into this mindset. So for them, became more of an education piece. There were people there though who were in these startup instances, small businesses or solopreneurs, and they, for them, it was kind of like it's like a trigger moment. They didn't really think about it. They haven't thought about it really because they're in this build mentality, right? It's like, I'm trying to push this thing out to the market. I'm like, I want to gain new sales and build really cool things, and they haven't thought about that governance and that ownership element. So I think there was a mix between interesting from the chats that we had between, yes, we've been thinking about it, we're trying, but we're not quite there yet, but we want to do it. But people who are just like, oh man, it wasn't something that registered in my brain as something they should think about.
Yeah, we had Sophie, who apart from the presentations, and we'll show the slides for that, but Sophie over at Zodi Custody, shout outs to them, talking about how they are implementing and thinking about AI governance in their, or like even just rolling it out, because the thing is, in different roles, it's going to affect people differently. She's more in the compliance role over there, and just like how they're thinking about and using it, and the guardrails that they've set up so that you can use it safely, was very interesting to hear about from a large organization, an international organization such as them. And it is Blockchain Week, so Zodi Custody, have a look at them, and obviously we had other presentations as well. But yeah, it was interesting to see that perspective, because it amplifies the need for this across a whole lot of organizations. We talked about the other things here, like data provenance and consent, like where did the training data come from? And prior to that, we had Armina Rosenberg talking about, not on AI governance, but just how they are using, so Armina and Thomas that you can see here, they had their thing on agents. And the team of it started off with one agent called Torian, and then they have now a team of 20 agents that have specialist skill sets. It's not just, this agent, it can do this. No, it's like this agent is loaded up with various Claude skills, and you could see the different skills that it could have. It's able to read the news and go to financial journal websites and do this sort of analysis. But
also like the intro, it's like it takes a certain, like they are targeted at certain points of view. All right. So one may be a specific industry sector, or even just have a biased opinion. It's like, okay, cool. I want to take a biased opinion and compare it to someone who is more of a generalist, and then see where the nuances are between those things, which is pretty cool. Like I really like their approach to how they built their agents.
Yeah, the cool thing was, and I really like this, but I got to showcase a little bit later just how some stuff works in Legal Claw, the internal tool that we've got here, and how the agents work in that. And that was of interest as well. She's like, oh, I like how you set it up and how you can see the debates and stuff, which I'll probably show a little bit later. But like, I think, it's cool when you go to these things and go to our mixers, our meetups, these events, that you get to exchange ideas, help validate things, and learn as well from what others are doing. So that was cool. And we'll go back to the talks later on, but great to see that real businesses doing this kind of stuff. And just back to this, we added a few more points, Chris, that I think were interesting. You mentioned culture and adaptability in education and training when it comes to AI governance. What did you mean by all of these?
Yeah, so it's really, when a lot of these businesses, particularly you see it most commonly in enterprise scale organizations, where that there's an important governance framework to be implementing into your business. You create that structure, that governance framework. You shove it into a wiki or a Confluence or a SharePoint, and you send out an email to everyone going, yeah, cool, this is it. Like, make sure you follow it, please. And it's just never works, right? People don't follow it. Shadow AI becomes even more prominent within the business. No one wants to go through and read through 60, 100 pages worth of documentation around the governance frameworks. So there's a really important step within the whole process, which is that cultural element. It's that sitting with people, understanding their points of view, making sure that their points of view are considered within the frameworks, then also, understanding what their processes and what their current tool use might be as well, so that the governance isn't just like an instant mandate. It's like it's a consideration when it comes to implementation. How do they speak up? Who do they speak up to? How do they make sure that there is that two-way conversation when it comes to this usage and learning and understanding? Because if you just put suddenly this blanket mandate, suddenly you're impacting these people's work and how they deliver things when they've been doing something in a certain way for so long, and that can have a huge negative impact on their mindset within the organization. And obviously the education and training is super important. Again, you don't want to just shove documents in front of people. You want to make sure that they feel guided along the process, right? Start small, get them to experience it. Like the example we gave, I think, in the chat, which I took this story from Tim Sharp, who I spoke with just a couple of days ago. When he runs these processes, he sits them in a room and he actually makes them build something, and then he goes through each one of those builds and go, okay, cool, here's an example of why this is quite a risk to the organization. You have your APIs are exposed, your keys are exposed, you're not on a secure database, you don't have SSO, like just listing all these things that provide such risks. And so it becomes more clear to people why things are the way they are, rather than just going, no, here's a list of no's, deal with it. Like
exactly. It doesn't, and the thing is, you're not encouraging play. You're not encouraging creativity. You're not encouraging. It doesn't make people want to use it. And you, from productivity perspective, assuming you are using it in the right way, assuming you have the right guardrails in, and doing it all safely and all that, you are better off using AI as part of your workflows, whether it's a little bit, whether it's a lot. With humans in the loop, this is all part of the governance. So assuming you're using these with the right AI principles, you will get more out of doing it than not. So I think that's really cool. But let's move to another topic.
I was going to say, I pulled it up quickly. I was going to show this analytics thing. So I think this will work.
Yep, it pops up. I can see it. Go ahead. What do we got here?
So this is the kind of analytics dashboard I was talking about. So it's literally pulling through. I haven't kept it up to date with the latest, but this was while I was playing with the concept a few weeks ago. But literally, so it's tracking across all the, you can see a few different projects that were running at the time of me setting this up. You can set the date range, but it's got a full outline of successes, failure rates, where there were errors, the estimated cost of the tokens that were being used against the project, how many commands were run, were there anything that was dangerous in those commands, where there was exposing information, stuff that might have been running local where it probably should have been, should not have been, or vice versa. And it's got a full log of things that, you know, probably demand attention, where there was files that were touched that need to be assessed, or change logs for essentially for across everything, times that things were running, completion for acceptance. There's this more breaking down of this summarized information into the graphs and tables.
That's really cool.
Tool usage, the agents that I might have touched in those moments, the sub agents that were doing activities, through to the actual run, so you can see like the actual log of all the stuff and what it was touching in my system, right? So there was stuff that was hitting my core Windows platform system, and there was other stuff that was hitting some more of my Claude local project folders. And then so it's just like you can get this information very easily with the right instruction set on the Claude level. So it's a doable thing, and it's not too complex to set up, and I highly recommend people be doing it.
I like it, and I think that this is so is this from Claude itself? Like where is this? I can't, I've got it on a smaller screen here, so I can't actually see the link.
So this is local. So I've built this dashboard with Claude Code. But
I like the dashtop sounds good.
Dashtops, yes. So the dashboard with Claude Code. So it's a custom build thing, but it is reading from the project folders that are set up within Claude, and Claude has an instruction set that every time you do an action, make sure you're logging it into this log file, and it reads through every single project for that log file, and then it pulls it into this dashboard.
Cool. Well, that's really useful, and I think this is the type of thing that, you know, there are ways that you don't have to wait for the providers. I think this is the proof. You don't have to wait for the providers to create ways that you can access insights and just the ability to monitor things. So that's really good, and I think that's the kind of stuff that we should be highlighting more. So very good, very, very cool. I want to jump to another topic, so we're not just speaking about AI governance and stuff like that, but just kind of related. Actually, no, I'm going to go back to it. Let's talk about something else, like Fable, the whole kind of Fable stuff that's been going on. That's been really interesting. I mean, I'm pulling up here like a Reddit post on this.
The tears coming down my eyes.
Yeah, you got to try it, so we'll talk about that. But like, say you're a security risk, you are a security risk, it must be regulated. Oh my God, like it is true. Like from one standpoint, you know, early on they're like, oh, we can't release it yet. It's too dangerous. Release it, and it's like, yeah, you're right, it is too dangerous. Although there's a whole heap of YouTube commentators talking about this and just going, well, it's reasons that they heard of as to and why from news articles, like why the Department of Commerce said that this is too dangerous. It's seemingly like a lack of understanding. There is no 100% safe thing out there. But the thing is, it's not like it's banned completely. If you're in the US, you're okay to use it. So can you imagine all of these ones that folks for like 6 days now getting ahead because they're able to use a really advanced model like this? What was your experience with it, just like very quickly, because you got to try it out like a little bit?
Oh man, it was lovely. And in the short moments that I had it, like one of the first things I did was had it look across, and this is obviously Fable 5. None of us have been able to play with Mythos, but just like a downplayed version of it. But I had it look at a few of the projects that I had built over the last few weeks, create some agents to review the quality, pass it to another agent to review that review, then implement, pass it back to another one to test it again, and then deploy that final outcome. So I walked away for the 40 minutes to an hour that it ran across these 1 or 2 projects.
Yeah.
And I remember just opening up that one of the projects that was, it was purely a at-home vibe coded. It did its job, but it was a bit clunky. It was a vibe coded tool that I built ages ago, and it was and it was silky smooth.
Really?
The new experience. It had improved the UX, just like that workflow across the entire app. And it was just, I just remember sitting back going, wow, that is that was crazy that it actually
Yeah.
did it in such a beautiful way. And I was looking at all the changes that it made and how it would make the decisions. And it was just like, it is very, very good. It is very, very powerful. So I started building a few extra things, and the way it was, you could just feel the way that it was interpreting, the way it was asking questions back, and the way it was then building plans and then proceeding to execute those plans. It was a significant step up from where Opus was in terms of just that feeling. And I really, so I was very, very excited to it. And then within a couple of days, you get this email going, "Hey, we're pulled it because of the government." You're just like,
for reasons.
what? That's no.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's
the CEO was saying, we want to adhere to the government's request. Like, we're all for governments being able to pull things if they request it. If they don't believe that the situation is what they say it is, but I guess what can we do other than sit here with little tears in our eye?
Yep. Tears indeed. Tears for fears. This is the kind of thing that, well, it just makes you go, okay, what do we do now? We just continue building as we are. Hopefully, this is just like overhype and things will come back. Or maybe this is the start. This is the start of the fork between the east and west side of things. Like, for example, I've seen news articles popping up on the phone where big banks like JP Morgan and others, I think Goldman Sachs, they are not letting their staff in Asian countries use Claude at all. No Claude.
Wow.
Right? So it is seemingly like a bit of an east-west divide. So interesting kind of stuff there, Chinese AI versus others. And just speaking of, what was the best model, or one of the best is probably like, you might argue that Opus 4.8 is better, or GPT 5.5, whatever it is, then they've got their different ways of doing things. But a new open source model out of Asia, but because it's open source, you can download it onto a virtual private server. GLM5 or something, or GLM, some model there. I'll find the precise name. But in tests, and again, this is just test benchmarks, it's been proving to be, quite capable. So that would have been big news and stuff, but the Fable stuff is the thing that dropped. I thought it was just going to be marketing. Sorry, I thought it was a bit of marketing that was coming out, and that was just, this is just another hype bit of noise just to make it, people want it more. But you tested it. It is quite capable. I tested a few things out from a design point of view, where it's like, okay, I'll give it this design, see what it does come out with and the quality, and it was pretty spectacular too.
Exactly.
But yeah, what are you doing now that how are you grieving?
Well, I mean, what it has, an interesting conversation that it has opened up is that making people aware of that reliance on just one service. And so it does, I used to do a lot of testing. I'd always have little, with Llama and Quen running on the system back there, and trialing and testing with other different tools that are coming out. But then pushing myself into Claude, I just sort of stopped spreading my wings a little bit. So it's kind of gone, oh man, I should maintain myself spreading my wings to make sure that
that's the risk.
I shouldn't be reliant on just the one tool, right? And like,
Exactly.
I need to be testing and learning and understanding how they all work, and their purposes and all their reasons and all their costs and associated with it as well.
That's it. And you can see here that, Claude Fable tops, I don't know what test this is. I don't know if it says here. Oh yeah, LLM Arena. So a proper test.
Good one.
But the topping of that is Fable 5, which is great.
Yep.
Costs you $10 input, $50 output. So quite expensive. Literally double Opus 4.8 and Opus 4.7. But this new model, and
right there, GLM. Yeah.
GLM 5.2, so lower. And if it's open source, the fact that you can just set it up in your own environment, test it on your Mac Mini, test it on virtual private server, go ahead and test it, I think is the key. But yeah, hopefully this Fable 5 banning is just a blip in the ocean.
It's a strange blip. Like, let's say that any part of what they're saying is true, and those risks. Like, if you look at the speed, I mean, this GLM 5.2 is a perfect example of this. If we look at the speed of which these technologies are evolving, with new businesses creating new innovations on a daily basis, there's also an argument that GPT 5.5 does some of the exact same things that Fable 5 does, that they're saying is is the reason they took it off. But within the next week, maybe even a month at the worst case, there's going to be another model that comes out which is just as good. Exactly. So it's kind of like, it's this ridiculous mindset that if you're going to put these restrictions in place on these, you need to make sure that it is a restriction that is across the board. Don't just attack one company because suddenly they've gone, to become one of the largest. And it does beg the question, given some of the people involved with the pulling, that
are you saying they should ban all the other models?
I'm not necessarily saying I'm banning this, but I'm like, if you're going to do it to one, you should be looking at the broad spectrum of, all right, how do we address AI in the market? Not just, all right, we're pulling that because it's a risky thing.
I don't know if we want them to even to do that. Like, it's like we don't ban knives just because some people have been killed by knives. We have enforcement and other stuff in place. I wouldn't want them to even think that this is a possibility that they can just ban something. So it's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. And maybe the terminology of ban is the wrong word, but it's looking at the way things. I mean, it's like the Anthropic guy did call it out. It's like everything is moving so fast that it's moving at a pace that we, or the people, the governments, they're not able to keep up with what is happening. Which is putting a lot of risk on bad things popping up, right? Bad situations occurring. And that's so my commentary is, they need to be trying to look at it across the board around how they keep up, around how they keep, not restrictions, not like banning, but just like some oversight and control that is still allowing to drive innovation, but hoping to mitigate the bigger risks around people's data usage and all those other things. And Anthropic took some steps. They tried to put some security and frameworks around Fable and Mythos. So it's that type of thinking and mindset, rather than just going block and ban. But
I don't know. Like, I think that this, because they've done this, the next thing that comes out, like let's say Fable 5, they see, oh, okay, it's okay. Company goes to release something else that many businesses rely on,
and it's going to be way more powerful than Fable 5. Like it's not the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, need to be updated. It is, banning like this is a bit dangerous. Just in the interest of time, because I do have to, I'm getting kicked out of the room soon. But laptops, sales coming up. It's end of financial year. I've been looking at something new. I run on a HP Spectre X360 from 2024, 2 years old, so it needs to go. The trackpad doesn't work. I use a bloody mouse, plugged into it, so which is fine. But what are you thinking about? Because you mentioned these NVIDIA Spark laptops.
Yeah, well, this is I'm excited, but there's still a lot of unknowns because they haven't released performance specs on this stuff. But the NVIDIA Spark conversation is pretty awesome. So you're looking at now a fully integrated experience for across the CPU, GPU, and RAM system. Kind of on the same model structure that things like your Apple M1, M2, well, so that they're up to M5 now, your Apple silicon chips are. So it is becoming a proper competitor to the Apple laptops. And there is a very, very strong argument that the Apple silicons are one of the best for running local AI models because of that integrated structure, the the model being able to pass between the GPU and RAM and have that shared experience means that it can be more efficient. It can run faster. It can run more things at once. And you can actually link up multiple Apple devices together. You can have 2 laptops, 3 laptops all hooked up in Link, or your the Apple Minis or your Apple Pros. Like all of them can be linked up, and because of that integrated structure, that the models that they run on them are really, really efficient, particularly for local people like you and I who are buying systems rather than commercial grade type technologies. So Sparks is putting a big challenge against that by having their own integrated GPU, RAM, the CPU model. And so their target is around AI usage, but it also stretches into game usage because, they are NVIDIA. They've got all their RTX systems, which are incredibly powerful for gaming.
Shout out to the gamers out there.
Shout out to them. Yep. Hands up, fist pump. Let's go. So this is really exciting. So in the next month or so, I mean, they have had some Sparks models that have been available, a little bit different. They have had some, I think some of the developer programs have been available for people to start testing and building stuff. But these aren't coming out for a couple of months. So they haven't actually released full specs, full prices for everything. But it's pretty exciting. And, you know, I'm pumped just to see, you know, a bit of a proper challenger in the market against Apple products.
Yeah, as much as like folks love their Apple products, it does take some getting used to that interface. And I used to be on it before because I like the interface, but then I had to do a whole heap. Like this is over a decade ago. Having to get more into like Windows-based stuff for financial like workflows, using Bloomberg and stuff like that in previous life. So you know, I was using a MacBook, but I was loading Windows on it. Whether it's boot camp or with parallels. Yeah, exactly.
Because you're back with the Intel chips on the laptops.
Exactly. But you know, the interesting thing is I am going to be on the lookout. So we'll have more of these, like we'll talk about this kind of stuff, because this hardware plays a strong part of the process of how you're working. I've like you at home, you've got the old laptop at home just running. Actually, let me just go back to full screen. You can see it there in the background. I've now set up oh yeah, it's kind of like
kind of a bit
off. Hang on a second. Let me
I can move the camera. There you go.
Yeah, go ahead. It's something that, you know, you've got set up. I've repurposed an old iMac, and it's not powerful enough. There's no GPU on it, but it's many versions before like the GPU versions of Macs. But at least it's sitting there, and like I built a family app just like you've got. I'll have to show at some point, where we can do groceries and tracking all things that we need to do. Like we're planning for a wedding, my fiance and I. So, you know, tracking all these things, but setting it up so that wherever I am, you know, the mobile like app that I've got, it basically talks to that computer so that whenever you add from the mobile app, the groceries or anything like that, it adds it to the cart on Woolies. It uses Playwright to go open up and add something to the cart, and then we'll decide, okay, we do want this, we don't want that. Just like bit more seamlessly. So, you know, the mix of hardware, software capabilities, Clauding, you know, Claude doing it, Codex doing stuff too. You don't need to have your own kind of cards. Like for some things where it's just like quite simple, I'll simply use an API subscription. It doesn't just have to be, there's no one way of doing it. You can figure out what you can do with the tools that you've got available.
You should be practice. Like I think they've extended it. I know Claude was going to put a lockdown on how you can access the CLI from the desktop. They haven't actually implemented the restriction yet. They put out a note saying that they're going to extend that a little bit longer. I think so. They were starting to put limitations on doing things like webhooks into CLI for operations. So let's say, for instance, you mentioned you were using API keys. So you can avoid the usage of API keys. You know, this is not for a individual, not for commercial. Commercial is a very different situation. But for individuals, you've built your own custom app. So rather than using API tokens, you could have
you go headless and stuff like that.
Headless, exactly right.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I know that you've got a few things going on there. I've got token usage just for things because it's light. But you know, using Haiku, it's not like a high-end reasoning where we need Azure or Bedrock and keeping things on there. Like we're not doing that. So I think that's okay. But you're right. Like you do need to be mindful of these things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, I've got the app that does all my daily summaries, that pulls in news articles and stuff like that. I have a similar thing. I use keys with APIs for things like Perplexity and stuff like that to pull stuff that I think has a bit of a strong
hopefully
technology.
You're doing it safely. You're not putting it on .env files. You've got it in secrets. You know, as long as it's
locally on my computer, right? Do you want to check that?
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Show us. Can you show us the files?
I'll check. I'll just screenshot in.
People just need to be aware of, like, whenever they're setting up, like, whenever they're setting up and vibe coding these tools, having you know, it might set up as just like a .env file. That's fine to just get started. Like, you know, if you're just doing personal stuff and you're not sharing it anywhere, or even just making it so that there's not even like a login page if your app is discoverable or whatever, like, or just, you know, there's various pathways to safety there, and we'll have to go through and, you know, vibe code something up in the right way and show people how to do that. But for the time being, we will be doing these weekly, I think, depending on like working out times. We used to do Twitter Spaces. This is going out to Twitter. I could see the videos on there at a regular time. And so this was a first test. So thanks to anyone who did click on and see this. And if you're watching this in the replay, you know, expect to hear more from us. But I think we'll have a look and see if this worked out okay. You know, I'll make sure that the light doesn't keep cutting out on me. Jeez, there we go.
You need to get you a little, like a ring light you can just sit in front of your computer.
Yeah, I like the meeting rooms though, because like I'm just like here in the city and stuff, so I can, you know.
Well, you stay in the meeting room, you just put a small ring light, just a small one, just like
yeah.
So then, yeah, if that turns off, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's not a bad idea. We'll figure it out. But in any case, Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
any
Mark.
parting words for the lovely folks?
Keep playing, keep testing, and stay safe. That's the only thing. Yeah.
That's it.
Keep playing with stuff, governance, stay safe.
Love it. All right. We'll see you next time.